big deal for me.
Yeah, and you've already seen it. They've hit the cog ball that they were able to pull out. They actually beat the poke comp against Legacy, and then were able to use a very similar comp to pick up their next win. He's been playing Cho'Gath. You see another ban leveled at him in the Twisted Fate. Kensti is on the top of his game. I haven't seen him play like this in about a year, and it's a real joy right now to watch. Not so great in the early game. He never has been. But his mid to late game pressure is phenomenal.
Yeah, and when he was on that Cho'Gath hitting 3-man everythings throughout that game, just yelling at people, rupturing them, really terrifying. But we'll see whether Absolute actually go to ban him out one more time. They could take away... No, it's going to be the Echo, but could actually be aimed at Kensti. Of course, can be in the mid lane. Of course, we've seen it everywhere as every region has picked up this champion.
Yeah, I actually wanted to see Chelby pick it up in the jungle because from what we've seen of Echo so far in an aggressive jungle hands, he's so sticky, able to get in there, use his passive really well. The third strike, of course, gives you all of that movement speed against champions. Would have been able to do a great job. On the side of Absolute, you see they've taken away the Fizz, the Rek'Sai, as well as the Rise. Not a surprise on the red side ban there. And first picking away the Azir.
Yeah, they picked up the Azir. Is going to leave the Gragas open. Of course, pretty high-tier jungler there, so Chelby could opt for that. Does like to be able to get around the map very early on. You mentioned that he's very, very strong as far as that aggression goes, but we've seen a different side of Chelby spawn. We've seen this calm and collected, able to scale man that we weren't expecting. He is going to lock in the Gragas, though.
Yeah, we've seen a man that doesn't look like Chelby come onto the Rift. He's no more that Lee Syndrome, Elise flash into bases, do crazy things. He's played a lot more within himself and reserved. And that's another reason why Avant's looking so strong right now. They're just being able to pick it up, keep it together as a team. Their late game teamfighting that we keep hitting on has just looked phenomenal. They're playing much more of Porky and Kensti's game than they are Chelby's game right now.
Yeah, it's true. And I really like the fact that Destiny's managed to lock in that Alistar as well. We saw him in his first week out here with the Avant Garde lineup really do fantastic things on that champion. So look to see the bottom lane and what that's going to eventuate with, because one thing that I see missing from that ban list is the Kalista, which was just locked in by Absolute.
Yeah, it certainly was. And you know, the thing that we keep taking away from Absolute is Kulo, very hot and cold, but when he's hot, he looks pretty good down there in the bottom lane. And they've picked up that trinity of carries. They've got the Nunu to be able to augment the Azir, augment the Kalista, which means late game, Absolute's team comp is going to be terrifying. The problem is, Absolute keep building these gold leads, getting up at about the 15-minute mark, and then their mid-game rotational play, they don't ward very well as a team, just make sure that they fall apart.
Yeah, and look, we were talking about Kensti before. He's now hovering over that LeBlanc. Warble also played a brilliant Ashe game, really making sure that he was landing every arrow. I think he went 4, 2, and 18 in their last game, and Warble really being a linchpin of that team. They are going to lock in both of these champions, and that's a lot of mid-game pressure, especially from that mid lane.
Yeah, it certainly is, and you know, I like the way that Destiny and Warble play right now. They're happy to play the facilitation role because the top side of the map is just so strong. So they've gone with Alistar, a lot of mid-game roaming pressure coming through there. They've got Ashe to be able to start up the fights. It means Porky can play a little bit more of a damage threat up there in the top lane. Also gives them a phenomenal pick comp with the LeBlanc in the mid lane. So this is going to be a trying time because right now I'm looking at mid beast, I'm looking at Kulo, and they're both going to need early QSSs as well as that cleanse to be able to live through all the CC.
Yeah, and they do have a lot of consistent damage, especially come the late game. Of course, Azir scales fantastically. You've got the Ren sets to come through from a Kalista, but it's going to be very difficult for them to get there just because of the amount of sort of wombo, the pick CC like you were talking about before from Avant Garde. But they are going to lock in the Maokai here as well as Thresh for Mattress. He's going to just lock that one in for himself. It looks a bit... You like to be able to switch them around. Sharing is caring. But no, Mattress says, I'm going to pick up my Thresh. Yeah, and so it's a fantastic combo.
Yeah, it certainly is. Grabs his own champion there. The Thresh Kalista, very dynamic, can go aggressive. Yeah. Also used great in the defense, being able to throw your support away, then take the Lantern yourself to escape some tricky situations. So you see what they're doing there. But with the Maokai, with the Thresh, couple that with a Nunu, they've created a great front line. So it's going to be hard to thread the arrow through Absolute when they are grouped up. So look for now Avant to really try and control vision around the map.
Well, we'll see whether Chelby's pickup of potentially this Sejuani... Well, actually, hang on. Why is Destiny hovering that? It's confusing me a lot. What they're looking for is, in fact, a top laner. They've only got 4 seconds in which to do it. So it is going to be the Rumble for Porky, and that makes a lot of sense. He's seen a load of bans, and this does set up a fantastic mid-game comp.
Yeah, it certainly does, and they fight around Dragon very well. Once again, going for those picks, going to be able to slow people down, get a lot of damage across with that Equalizer. Layer it with Alistar is only going to make it even more terrifying, keeping people locked down on top of it. So right now you see Avant, they're going to be playing around objectives, looking to just get through laning phases, group up nice and early, and use those level 6 power spikes to come out in the Ashe as well as the Rumble to be able to get themselves any form of advantage over the map. Once it opens up, they'll control vision and try and transition into a nice early win. On the side of Absolute, like, stall out is the name of the game. They've got 2 super tanks. They've got the ability to team fight well. Look for them to go for a longer route to victory.
Yeah, and is Nunu and Maokai sort of arguably the early game pressure that this side has? Is it going to be enough to weather the storm of the potential onslaught that Avant's going to bring towards Absolute?
Yeah, you know, all they're looking for is an early sightstone out of Nunu. If Nunu can pick up any form of early ward control and be able to get his team ahead in that, it just means that they never have to fight when they don't want to. Even if they give up an early dragon, it's going to be at least 24 minutes before they're in the threat of the 3rd dragon being picked up. By that time, they should have scaled up nicely, got some points into the blood boil, and be able to just team fight very well around Azir and Kalista.
Yeah, well, and Jack Attack as well, his best performance in the league. Of course, Jack Attack is leading as far as deaths are concerned in that top lane, but his best performance was on the Maokai. He had a massive KDA on that champion, only died once, 4-1 and 18, I believe, 13, something like that. A ridiculous scoreline. So if Jack Attack is going to be able to get things done, it is on the Maokai, but he knows all about the Rumble as well. He knows that matchup inside and out. He is a veteran player like that. So we'll look to the top lane to see whether he can control what is a rough early stage for this team.
Yeah, it certainly is a matchup that he's very familiar with. I think he even has taken Maokai into Rumble a couple of times now, and the vice versa matchup as well. One thing to note is Maokai Nunu is actually a pretty good gank top lane. As soon as you have red buff on Nunu, you're able to get in there, slay a CC. They do a lot of persistent damage. Maokai, highest base AD in the game, so he's able to slap you with some stumps and take you down. So the pressure is on Porky to be able to navigate these early ganks.
Well, we'll see whether he can. But ladies and gentlemen, we want to hear from you. Hop over to Twitter, use that hashtag ABSWin if you think that it is going to be Absolute taking this one, or use that hashtag AVWin and let us know there. And look, AV have a fantastic mid-game comp, but if it gets past a certain time, I have a feeling that Absolute might be able to take this one back. But I want to hear from you guys and let us know exactly how you're feeling this one might go.
Yeah, and you know, you look at Absolute's team composition here, and it's reminiscent of what the Chiefs were able to run last week and pick up a victory. Yeah. You have the Nunu that allows, I guess, for additional kite through the Absolute Zero. You've got a Thresh box that you have to run through if you want to get near these carries. Not to mention the persistent CC and slows that will come through from Jack Attack with the damage mitigation. Of course, against Rumble, being able to ultimate your own team whilst they're standing on the Equalizer is such an important tool to be able to mitigate all that damage that's going to come through from Porky. So they definitely have the tools to be able to carry this one through.
Yeah, they certainly do. And look, Kulo as well, I want to just touch on this player just for a little bit. I love him personally just because he's so polarizing. Kulo will either go 0-5-0 or 11-0-8. This guy always goes in, always goes aggressive, and we'll see whether this time, whether he's going to go on a tear or whether it might be a little bit more of a rough game for him.
Yeah, and that seems to be why they swapped the supports over there, because Mattress, you have to say, is the more aggressive out of the support combo that they were bringing in here. Yeah. Of course, Strawbella has now been replaced by the lineup. She was playing pretty well, actually. Her second game especially really impressed me there on the Lulu, but Mattress, they seem to be able to run a little bit more of these kill lanes and try and get in people's face, especially early, and try and outright win some lanes. Because if you look at the Absolute lineup, they don't have really any lane that will outright win. They're able to do it through building leads incrementally as a team, but they're just not able to transition that into late game team fighting.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about that because it does beg the question of lane swap. Like, who is going to be opting for these 2v2s, and do they just accept it and move on? Because I could imagine that Avant probably want to get Porky in a 1v1.
Yeah, they certainly do want to get the Rumble in a 1v1, be able to get as much CS onto him as possible, pick up those double pen items, but generally, when we do see these matches, we see the more experienced lineups trying to get towards that 2v1 and pick up early advantages through turrets, through dragons.
Well, we'll see whether they can do that as we throw it back to Pastry Time and Rusty on the desk.
Thank you once again here, Atlas and Spawners. We are about to get into our third game between Absolute and Avant. My name is Pastry Time. Joining with me still, of course, is Rusty. We've had two great games so far, about to kick it off into the third. And Avant, for me, my one question, Rusty, is can they continue their recent form?
Yeah, that is the question to ask. Avant have been on the rise, looking better and better every single game. And Absolute are the kind of hot and cold team that we don't really know what to get from them just yet. So we'll see if Absolute... Avant Garde can continue that form on that upward trend and take out a convincing game, or can Absolute turn it on and have one of their phenomenal games that we can expect sometimes.
Yeah, they've had some success so far. Still, you know, one of the teams that came up through the OCS, still finding their feet, it feels like, in the OPL, but a strong draft here from them. I really like what they've put together.
I do like their draft. It's quite well-rounded, and we have heard questions about the scaling of it and how it compares to the side of Avant Garde, but their team comp is very well-rounded. It has all of the means of a great team comp, and we'll see how they actually play it out.
We will indeed, as Avant put together a very Avant-feeling draft as well. My personal favorite right now has to be the Warble Ash. This man, when he last played the champion, it was just arrow after arrow after arrow. He never seemed to miss.
It's a funny that it's a very good pick into Kalista as well, and we saw it last game, managing to use his ultimate in team fights, somehow hitting Kalistas. So that may well happen again for all we know. Warble, a very, very competent Ash. But speaking of competent players, Kensley on the block, he's been playing that for years. He has, and he's been absolutely on fire recently as Kensley, as far as mid laners go. He's, you know, playing a bit more unconventionally. He's gone back to his Zed. He's played a lot of Cho'Gath, you know, been responsible for some of these sort of picks, but LeBlanc certainly a comfort champion that's sort of sitting still pretty firmly in the current metagame here. So it's strong picks across the board for both teams. We see a lot of movement back and forth, just trying to get a bit of vision as Avant. They've really weaved themselves down to this top left-hand side, wanting to try and see what they can see. Every way that they weave in, though, finds them being spotted by a ward. Both wards being placed there very smartly by the Absolute lineup. See that invade, and though it is basically the 2v1 conscious swap with that typical ward that we do often see now, they don't actually get any real semblance of vision coming from that at all. No, instead, Warble actually going to walk himself down towards the bottom part of the map. Jack Attack, his early jungle clear will not be stopped as he sets up saplings there on the Raptor camp. And Mid Beast, of course, just sort of hanging out. Going to start his mid lane 1v1 eventually. Mattress and Kulo look to be starting the Krugs here. So Absolute might start with an experience advantage here in the bottom side. Yeah, they're looking to get that little bit of a jungle advantage. Was that a smite? That was a smite. That was really cool. That's gorgeous. That is gorgeous. They give them the smite to make it a lot quicker. They get to lane right on time. Kalista able to get both of these. A big experience advantage going in favor of Absolute, and they're not losing as much health as they actually would have. And Malik doesn't miss Gift of Heavy Hands either. That was genius. Yeah, it makes red buff quite easy when you can stun them and you're still a Nunu. So, I mean, it's not like it's in an uncomfortable position at all to do any jungle. Not at all. As Shelby is going to go into the enemy jungle now and try and take away this blue buff. Malik actually going to start the walk over there. That is not where you want to be walking to. In standard lane set, Shelby sort of whamboozled him, might get the steal away. He has no smite here, Shelby, so the question... Nope, never mind. Unfortunate, not actually going straight to his blue buff. It is going to get stolen away from right under his nose. Nice pathing there by Shelby, just sort of, again, tricking Malik and taking away his buff. For all the gorgeous smiting that he did at level 1, does not stop the steal away. Looks like Malik's going to get 3 buffed. Yeah, so they get that blue buff. He's going to spot it right now and realize, oh no, it's gone. What do I do? The feeling of sadness. Walk in a couple weird directions before going to his Gromp, except that it's still available. The question is Shelby going to go straight for that 3 buff start, or is he going to try to recall first and give Nunu enough time to come in there? We'll have to see what happens. We'll pay attention to the pathing as right now Shelby's stolen away. Warble getting nailed by a hook though, and a bit of harass coming through. We're seeing the makings of what Destiny was last week coming through here on Mattress, hitting a great hook there. Enough free damage for Cooler to put down, but not enough to actually push anyone out of lane. Just a very nice hit. I mean, we heard Spawn and Atlas talking about this a little bit here, but Thresh Kalista is a very flexible lane as Malik might have found Shelby. Body slams away. And Malik trying to take a bit of creeps away. Shelby actually cleaning out that side of his jungle. But Entity diving back in. Damage is good. They're trading orders. He has to walk around. And Kensti wins that trade as Midbeast uses Cleanse. Yeah, forcing the Cleanse out. Still Ignite available here from Kensti. The kill pressure is now extremely evident, as we saw a fight, almost a fight break out in the jungle earlier. Malik walking in there, spotting Shelby and forcing him out of his own jungle. But in saying that, Malik has just recalled and really gave Shelby that blue. Yeah, Shelby going to get the 3 buff start that he was looking for, and he's been so greedy, just taking almost all of his jungle camps on the way back there, so clearly quite confident in his early counter jungling. Yeah, an extremely greedy jungle path, able to take away that blue. Level 4 now to level 3, and the Gragas is hitting that prime position after this Gromp to go back, get some items, and then get. Yep, and again, we'll see what Shelby does go for the early item. Seen quite a few skirmishes Saber, so potentially that there as well, but Shelby just hanging out, going to kite the buff back and forth, take out the Gromp, and it's time to go home. Yeah, he's just going to go to recall now. As we're seeing a very standard start here across both teams. Nothing exceptional really coming out at the moment. Nunu slightly ahead in jungle timing, but behind in jungle camp amounts. As top lane is neither here nor there.
No, actually, Porky and Jack Attack's been keeping it nice and chill here. Just a couple Doran's items and some even CS. This is normally a matchup we expect Rumble to get ahead in here, so we'll see if that changes as Porky gets a few more levels.
Generally starts to change with levels and the early Magic Pen items, because Jack Attack on that Maokai, they love to build that health first. Get that Righteous Glory on the Catalyst at the very least, which gives Porky a lot of control.
And you can see there with the Flame Spitter damage, part of the reason why Rumble can be so good in this situation. Malik, though, coming towards the mid side, going to try and get a gank down onto Kensti, but ganking a short lane as a Nunu, a little bit tricky.
Yeah, ganking a short lane's hard. Ganking a LeBlanc lane as a Nunu just as hard. So finding himself a kill there is going to be a very tough task, to say the least. It's very standard, really, all across. Nothing's really happening.
Hanging out. Gold very even. A slight lead here and there as the gold ticks back and forth. Kensti good harass there. As Shelby going to continue with the game all neutral to try and get further ahead. Found Malik. Gets the pop there. Takes a bit of gold.
Shelby wins. All in all, he gets a jungle camp from that. He's had the blue buff. Shelby constantly invading here. And it's as a Gragas against a Nunu, so that does press some questions. Malik's struggling a bit.
Down on the bottom side as well, you can see this lane's actually got nice and even for Avant, which is nice, given that Ashe lanes, especially with an Alistar, can be a little tricky to navigate sometimes.
It does start a bit difficult, but the sustain from the Alistar, the raw damage that an Ashe can put out in a 1v1 trade, as long as you're not prolonging the trade duration, it starts to favor the Ashe much more. If the trade is prolonged, then Kulo would 100% come out ahead.
We'll have to see what develops. As again, it's been a very quiet early game. Mid-Beast looking towards the blue, not quite up yet though. Actually got stolen by Shelby, but should be up around a fairly similar time. Chalice completed now for the Azirus Morello, sorry, not Morello Nomicon, Fiendish Codex. Possibly building towards that Morello Nomicon's the build there. As Shelby looking towards the Dragon, might take that as his next bigger doctors. He's had a run of this jungle so far.
Yeah, he's just controlling everywhere on the map right now. And Kensti also controlling the mid lane is a big factor in this, as he's going to find himself pink wards everywhere.
Yeah, walked over it for a second, but did go back to get it. Porky does have his Sork Shoes completed now as well, so taking that as his first major item. And this is what you're talking about as far as item matchups go.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of comfortable at the moment in this matchup in terms of items. There's nothing, neither here nor there from it, but oh, sorry, I was a bit distracted by watching the pink ward taken a second that he put it down right there. That's one of the most insulting and painful things to ever see happen in your life.
It's not good. And Shelby going to go back, get his Barmish Cinder. His heal start powering up. You can see Absolute trying to get those early wards done, get a bit of vision and see what they can see. But right now, again, it's been all quiet mid-beast. Going to take the Raptor camp away from himself, slightly behind on CS there to Kensti, who's continuing to apply pressure. And finally, the first big buys come through. Destiny actually staggers his back because Warble wanted his BF sword.
Yeah, they get the BF swords. They've farmed a little bit far past that, so able to pick up the pink wards as well. At the same time as Kulo, going to go get all these big items, and they're now in a much more comfortable position to look for fights, more advanced in their positioning, and Malik getting one back.
Yeah, wins the crab battle there. I think Shelby might have even fancied the blue buff once again. He's going to walk towards the top side, might find another pink ward. Shelby, pink ward hunter, finds it.
The game of the pink wards. At the moment, they've got a lot of jungle pressure and a lot of pink ward control across the map. Everyone being very standard in the way that they're sitting neutrally. And speaking of pink wards, there's another.
Yeah, Kensti was coming over, but unsafe for him to finish and clear it. So at least knows it's there. As you can see, yep, Ward's actually flanking the mid sides there for Kensti as well. So he feels nice and safe. And yeah, Destiny and Warble, we'll see where they place theirs. It's, again, a very standard, kind of stalemated early game. Well, the Mattress might be a kill here for Kensti. Chain does proc, but not enough. Yeah, he does. We've clearly learned.
League of Pinks.
League of Pink Wards. Kensti does get it. Distorts the way to the Dragon.
Now we could see Avant with a 3-2 pink ward advantage here at 8 minutes in the game.
I mean, it's you joke about it, but it's very relevant here. It's been a very quiet early game. The CS is nice and even. So what does matter? It's the early ward control.
I was joking, but of course it is extremely relevant for the sole fact that the junglers are fighting against each other. So there's no real chance for any ganks of immeasurable amounts to come out. It's very standard because Malik and Shelby are just hitting each other in the face or stealing away jungle camps and just generally pressuring each other. This allows the laners to recall at their own will for the items they want whenever they'd like. And because they are able to do that, we're seeing 28 pink wards a minute.
Yep, I mean, they're just getting slain left, right, and center.
It is not even in a bush.
Not a good game.
Doesn't even matter.
Pink ward, no. Destiny may have slightly misplaced that one. You can see Double pinks. Ooh, Sentinel dodge. Oh, that very nice work. Mattress. Oh! Fate's call. Keep him safe. But very cute stuff there from Avant.
That was nice. Really dodging that Sentinel and able to find an engage. But Kulo using the ultimate, saving his ally there from a dire situation.
See again, Mattress.
The real battle continues here.
Yep, the pink ward's hit. We've had many pink wards killed, but no first blood just yet as ABS going to clear that one out.
Destiny's looking though.
Yeah, he is. He wants someone. It's actually going to be Kulo. He gets the pulverize as well. Warble does not pull the trigger on the arrow. He actually goes it onto Mattress, and Kulo going to be forced to use the heal. Flash double play though for Mattress as Absolute Zero's proc. Destiny getting low. Will not go.
Massive.
No, he does. Just what? Wait, what? Kalista dies. Porky gets a double. Then Alstar dies to the Threshers. Warble's going to go down. Jack attacks come through. Porky might get himself a triple. Kenzie's come down as well. Nails Jack there with the chain. Kenzie gets that kill. Midbeast's going to get chased down now as well. And what was a very messy fight to start things off here. Midbeast gets CC'd. Does flash away. Malik's going to die. Porky got another one. Ult stay good. Midbeast though now going to get aggressed on. Harpoons land. They are going to die. Porky wants it. He gets it. And he is going to die. So a massive trade. 5 for 2 across the board.
And all of the action just came out at one big moment right there. A 2 for 3 trade in the end, I believe. And no, it was more than that.
It was 5 for 2.
5 for 2 in the end. Avant coming out massive. And the target selection at first thoughts from Ash was kind of questionable. You thought, why is he using his arrow to take down the Thresh when there is a Kalista readily available? We're going to see it again. And the answer as to why is going to be very evident when you see the teleport animation come out from Porky. This equalizer is big, it's on the priority targets, and it's exactly where it needs to be. They take him down immediately. This gank from Porky, timed to perfection, and the coordination from Avant is unfortunately Warble does go down here. Jack attack nicely picking up the kill there in the trade. But again, the coordination from those guys to no target selection in the midst of actually having a team fight is phenomenal. They managed to go very ham here, and they end up picking Midbeast in the end. But he saves his ultimate for so long. I thought he was going to use it earlier to live, and finds himself getting a trade from it. So impressive play from Midbeast to find something from what was a very awkward situation.
Yeah, Porky dying at the end was actually a 5 for 3, as you can see the 8 kills there on the board. So a bloodbath there to start things off in the bottom side. All those slain pink wards finally. The revenge is here. We'll have another battle, but Shelby will protect his pink ward for now.
The pink ward's revenge as the fight finally breaks out.
Kenzie coming over as well.
I mean, again, Avant impressed me so much just then with their target selection that it is worth touching on a second time. The fact that Ash even confused me with this random arrow that worked out perfectly is so good for this Avant side.
100% agree. And the big benefactor of all of that is Porky. 85 CS to 94. Okay, nothing really right home about there. 4-1-1. Skipping their Haunting guys for now. He's got a need to see Large Rod to join in as well.
Why go flat Magic Pen when you can accelerate your damage in a completely skyrocketed manner and give yourself a big team fight buffer?
I mean, if Jag Attack also wasn't having trouble there in the match before, he's actually handled it very nicely in the early stages. Porky's going to start to run over this lane, you have to think. And we've seen what Porky's Rumble can do when it gets, when it stays even and gets farm. Now it's ahead. Yeah, that's right. It's very far ahead.
The raw item difference is, of course, enough to impact this lane. As you can see, Absolute looking to go for this out of vision.
Yeah, they're on top of it. No vision there as well. And Kulo's Rend, plus the Consume and the Smite. We saw him into Kalista and Legacy there last game. Pretty easy there to take away as the first dragon goes to ABS.
Yeah, so they managed in the midst of all of this action pick up that dragon. They've got no teleport available here from both top laners, and with Porky having most of the kills, they found themselves a comfortable moment, having that Nunu and the Kalista available to take it down at any time. And a very smart decision on the back of a team fight.
Just coming in actually. Kenzie looking for something. Finds the chain onto Midbeast. Shelby wants to go back in. The ulti's there. Great ult though from Shelby into the pulverize for a bit of volleyball. And Kenzie with a well-deserved kill.
Fantastic work from Shelby and Kenzie hitting the chains, allowing the explosive cast to come out exactly where planned, because there was no cleanse available, no flash available. And Midbeast Emperor's Divide really just gave him move speed to be next to them.
That cleanse just back now. Mattress is the one to get arrowed though by Warble. And I think just defensively there to make sure the tower stays up. ABS still pushing.
Yeah, nothing actually coming from that arrow besides a bit of counter pressure. It slows them down, but again, the turret going down. Meanwhile, in the mid lane though.
Yeah, tower goes down. Avant able to pick that one up for themselves. Kenzie and Shelby teaming up with their minions to make sure that goes down. Porky as well working on the top side, does good damage to it, and maybe most importantly of all, Kenzie going to steal away a blue buff.
Yeah, at 14 minutes in the game, the gold lead being 2,000 in favor of Avant doesn't sound massive, but they're getting a lot of control of all of these areas. You can see the blue buff stolen away at level 1. They have the timers for it at all relevant times. They can come in there and just easily control it and take it away.
You can see just from the golds here as well, a lot banked up for Avant to go spend. True for Cooler there in the bottom side as well, so the big carry on ABS has got a big stack of gold to try and spend here. But you can see Porky especially is the one ahead as Fate's Call gets popped in, finds Warble. Destiny zones him out there with a headbutt. Pulverized going to get lined up here, but Warble has to be careful. Kulo does get pulverized up. The hook will miss, but it doesn't matter. Kulo able to take the kill.
Very confident in their play right there, just completely running at the side of Avant. When it's only the raw 2-on-2, it's quite difficult to actually disengage away from this Absolute lineup. Of course, having no arrow available, a big factor in that. They used it earlier to try and stop the turret from going down. Gives Absolute the free opportunity and unlocks their capabilities of a 2v2.
It does, and they get the tower as a result as well. So stacking on some gold there, actually bring it back to within about 1,500 as far as the lead goes. So Avant lose a bit of that lead. Warble does go back and get his Infinity Edge, so he's powering up as well. Porky also now completed that Haunting, guys, and has an extra amp tome for probably that Zonya's coming in. And even Kenzie with a need to see large rod means that Avant, from all the lead that they've gotten, it's Porky that's about 1,000 gold ahead of Jack Attack, or maybe a bit less now with that tower going down. He's in good position here as Kenzie.
He just casually walks away after that. Thought something was going to happen. Is he going to go back to his distort? No, he just swaggers on out.
I mean, that was what they expected. So Kenzie's like, I guess the only way for me to get out is to keep running.
The anti-juke.
Yes. As you can see, ABS, 4-man strong in the mid lane, trying to push things down. But Avant here to answer. Kenzie has to be careful as here with the poke coming in, but Shelby's coming through. Warble's going to rotate in as well, and Avant should be able to hold this.
And this raises some interesting questions here. Absolute starting to group at this point in time. When you have a look at what Avant actually have to offer, that is a 4-1 Rumble with his 2 Magic Pen items completed and a needlessly large rod to boot, with his teleport up. You've got a 2-0-1 LeBlanc with the needlessly large rod on top of his Morellos. I wouldn't be grouping right now on the side of Absolute. I would be afraid of the damage that a team fight from Avant can put out onto you. I would find options to get your Kalista and Thresh to continue 2v2s.
Well, Mattress going to get pulverized instead for his trouble. No headback coming in, actually. Destiny did not want to commit there.
No, take the ward instead. Destiny, having the pulverize, could have knocked him towards Ashe, but again, a big risk. The heal not available from Ashe. Kulo very, very capable of just getting straight onto him. And again, the safeness of this Absolute bot lane allows them to fight for as long as necessary before one of them can just let the other one out.
Yeah, play the leapfrog strat and get out safely. Avant, though, with a nice transition to the bottom side, will look to get pressure onto that bottom side tower. Mid-beast, though, might be able to answer with the mid-turret. Kenzie, what? Just coming in massive. Mattress, though, looking for the hook. That's going to force the flash up. Kulo, though, made a found him. Fate's Call goes in. Plays there as well. Kenzie, rooted with arrows, does get rendered. Mid-beast dives in, and Kulo gets himself another kill.
Kenzie trying his best to wave clear, being as cute as possible, but so many members of Absolute, as they completely correct me and they start grouping and find these kills.
I mean, when Rumble doesn't join the fight, ABS can actually reasonably win here, because to be honest, Porky is most of this gold lead.
But I guess we define that as a fight more so. Kenzie trying his best to actually last hit minions and stop a tower going down, instead paying for it with his life and the turret going down.
Well, we're going to clear out the rest of the minion series. It's 2 apiece now, and turrets are dragging up in a minute there as well, and Porky will really shine in that dragon fight.
Speaking of Porky.
Mattress rotating in, Alex here as well. Ulti not that good. Porky not quite going to cut them off here. Absolute zeroes in. Flay comes in as well. Porky flashes out, but I don't know if it's enough. The scrap shield's on it. Might just be no mid-beast able to take him out.
Too many members and too tanky from the side of Absolute here, as Malik just sits there and casually tanks it, regardless of the Emperor's Divide missing. Porky unfortunately throwing out his ult, expecting more members to come from that direction, thinking he'd get away from the 2.
Nice juke from Kulo, but does get pulverized. Headbutt there as well. Shelby coming in. Body slam's going to join in. Slow down from the Q. Ulti there used by Shelby. Kulo keep hopping. Exhaust down as well. Nothing he can do is Warble. Comes in with a snipe, and Jack Attack's like, I don't know if I wanted to be here. Does get headbutted away. His ulti's ticking on, but the damage is still there. There are so many knockarounds in this team comp. And Jack flushes to the only place he can.
I mean, I probably would have cancelled that teleport personally, but I am questioning that he got alive. He got out alive. That's perfectly fine in my books. He managed to get out. Unfortunately, losing the top tower in that trade, and Kulo is going to go down. So Avant finding it. The arrow actually making him juke back, which gives the Alistar enough time to just headbutt him into a wall.
Yeah, there were no good choices there for Kulo, I don't think, as Avant get themselves on top of the Dragon. Malik does chuck a ward down, but Porky's here. His ulti's almost up. He's actually got a Leandry's as his next major item, and goodbye, Dragon.
That's a Leandry's Rumble right now. 4-2 with free farm up against this Maokai lane, and probably going to look for himself to get some easy 1v1s against the health stacking from Jack Attack.
Yep, going to hang out here. Spectre's Cal is there for Jack, so that will help a lot in the matchup, but probably not enough given how far ahead Porky is. And even Warble goes back, spent some gold. He's got a Zeal now to stack in on top of that Infinity Edge.
That'll be very helpful for throwing out more arrows.
It will actually.
Which will be actually more helpful than I am sarcastically saying. It's going to be great.
It will be. I mean, Warble, we've talked about his arrows. They've almost always been on point when we've seen them. Even that last one for Kulo was pretty much just to zone him there. Kulo himself trying to get a bit of farm back in the top side of the map, but the map very open now, and that gold lead's still relatively close.
Yeah, the gold lead is not really a speakable difference at all. We've found a lot of free kills here. Absolute managing to make the picks in a 2v2, picking up Kensti mid as well and taking the turrets for it as they find themselves essentially dead even.
Yeah, I mean, a bit of gold up for Avant, but nothing much right now. 1,000 up here as Kensti returns for his next big buy. It's actually a Luden's Echo.
That's the Luden's Echo. He's up against an Abyssal Scepter on the Azir here, so on a defensive option. And you can see the Aegis being completed at the same time from Malek as he went straight into that. And I mean, everyone here on the side of Absolute starting to build defensive items first. That says to me that they are looking to group earlier and find some team fights or just get vision control and make picks because of that.
Well, they'll have the option in a couple minutes when Dragon respawns, but right now it's a very open map. No out of turrets left for either team here. Blue buff will get picked up here by Kensti as Porky helps out his mid laner with an Absolute. Going to regroup once again, looking for those fights.
Yeah, they are grouping again. It's in the mid lane where the turret is down, so looking to push in super hard. Catch someone out of position as Kulo thought he found Porky, but Mattress is like, I'm going over there.
Yep, didn't quite find him. Porky able to escape for now. Does get spotted up by the Scrying Orb, but does have his ultimate. I mean, Porky going to keep running. Mattress, no, will find him. Slow does miss there. Mattress lines up the hook, does find it. Porky now has to lay down the equalizer. Does as he retreats here, but it's not quite enough, and the Ren will come through. Kulo getting his 3rd kill.
Pretty much throwing down the equalizer because he was accepting his fate, and I do have a question about that because up in 30 seconds with his teleport available, this side of Avant still pushing in is very, very smart play here. Kulo actually catching Porky out of position, just getting a glimpse of him, instantly using that Fate's Call, pulling in the Thresh, and then they chase him down until he's bottlenecked into fighting them. Instead, he does go down, and Absolute again, finding themselves some picks out of what was essentially nothing, and keeping themselves in this game because of it.
And we can see the kills dead even here at this point, so Absolute's done a great job getting themselves back in after the horrific start that they had with Porky getting so far ahead. Mid-beast as well, playing fairly far back, knows that Kensti is looking for kills with that blue pot actually activated, and Warble instead's like, you know what guys, I'm going to go ahead and take a bit more farm in the top lane.
Yeah, Warble casually getting that farm, probably working towards his next item before he really wants to consider fighting anybody, especially not in a 1v1. The difference between him and Kalista at the moment is a lot.
Kensti actually accepts it. Goes in, has Distorted, but Kulo's going to ride through. That's going to force the flash, but Kensti now has nowhere to really go. Flash goes through. Rend is good. Ignite comes down, and Mattress takes the kill.
Mattress going massive there, stopping the Distort with his hook, following it up again, getting the last hit with another death sentence. Absolutely large right there from him. Couple that with the lantern he threw out to Kulo. Basically gifting kills and assists on a silver platter is this Thresh.
And it's, been the Thresh for the last few minutes. It's gotten Absolute these kills. Now finally going to convert one into an objective here. Kulo just on top of the turret with the Hurricane already. Shelby gets whacked there. Turret does not quite fall. The Equalizer's down to stop them. But that's not going to last very much longer as he is coming back, and that turret's dead.
Yeah, that turret has not long left for this world as it does fall down. And AV need to essentially sit back and kind of reset right now. Press the reset button and rethink their strategy at the moment. Because we did admit that they had a very strong team fight composition, and they spent the past 5 to 10 minutes actually just getting caught out of position. Yeah,
and Absolute have capitalized nicely with an objective. Now 4-3 up in turrets. Dragon is back in a minute 40. You can see Avant checking for the Baron buff as Shelby eats a hook there from Mattress and finds himself another pink ward.
Yeah, most importantly, the pink ward.
Yep. We've seen a lot of pink wards die this game, let me tell you.
Yeah, there has actually been an exceptional amount, which is great, of course, because pink wards are the most efficient items if they stay up on the map for a prolonged period of time. Funnily enough, this game, not so cost efficient.
No, it's been dying almost as soon as they're put down. You can see Midbeast getting stronger with his blasting one, maybe moving in for that void stuff. Righteous Glory done for Jack. We've got good items here for Absolute. Avant as well, maybe completing the next few pieces. Porky and Warble especially might need to do some shopping trips soon.
I like that the fact that Avant are grouping now. They've got that Ash Arrow, unfortunately
Warble.
not going to hit just now. So they do regroup this time, but again, I like the concept behind what they're doing right now. Just not coming out in practice at the moment. The theory is there. Group up. You've got the Ash Arrow. You've got the Fed Rumble who has his Leandries. You've got Kensti with the Luden's Echo. You can blow anybody up. They're basically relying on the Ash Arrow to hit, though, for them to blow somebody up.
I mean, if only they had a bit more CDR for Warble. Although he's opting for a more traditional AD carry build, so
the blue buff.
Not going to see that one this time. Honestly, if they could steal one, absolutely, but I would consider asking Kensti for the blue buff.
I think Kensti would not consider saying yes.
I think I agree, but I would at least ask him nicely.
I'd still prefer it on the LeBlanc because it is a Morello's, of course, not having the mana pool, the mana regeneration of the Chalice, only having the Forbidden Idol. So keep that on the LeBlanc for now, and we'll rethink some other strategies for Avant.
Well, Arrow on a relatively low cooldown. Level 12 now, so Warble looking alright as far as ultimate cooldowns are concerned. Dragon is back alive, which is what all this jockeying for position is for, but Avant trying to set a trap instead here, because Absolute, they know when they get on top of the objective, it'll just die almost instantly.
And fighting for a Dragon is actually one of the key strategies here for Avant as they get spotted by that ward, but again, they've got the Rumble who works so well in small choke points, and being on the red side of the map here for Avant in particular forces Absolute to go to a single choke point if they want to contest the Dragon. But what I like here is that Absolute have actually said, well, no, we're not going to fight you for that. If you go for the Dragon, we'll probably just take Baron.
And again, either of these major objectives, Absolute have plenty of ways to secure them between the Kalista and Nundum, and even just the decent Azir damage there as well. So a smart movement there keeps Avant off that Dragon for now. Again, both teams looking for their second as well, so that would break the current tie. Scuttercrab also there for Absolute. Right now, Avant almost struggling to find their next steps, it feels like, despite the items that they've got.
Yeah, Avant just struggling to get their eye in. They've got the Ash Arrow, they've got all the makings of the potential for a pick. It's just not going in their favor right now. And you can see Absolute are actually the ones who have been making the picks for most of this game at the moment. The Thresh hooks, we're essentially looking at two pick comps, but one has a harder engage button. The other one is a pick comp filled with kill the one person and then reset and come back again and pick them off again.
Yeah, lots of burst and damage there for Avant, but not quite the same team fighting options as Absolute. Going to get themselves on top of the Dragon. There is very little Avant can do to try and take this away, and it will go to ABS.
Yeah, they managed to pick up the Dragon. Mattress does not hit that hook, unfortunately. They get out with every single member, still perfectly fine, full HP. And I mean, they do get a blue buff here for Avant. Kensti's going to be quite happy to answer the question. It's Kensti.
It is Kensti, not Warble, as the stun turret goes down there in the mid. Still powering up as this Ash. Porky as well was ready to fight with the Zhonya's, but Avant out of position, a position there to try and challenge. And this game is so even. That gold actually evening right back up as some of the gold ticks back over. 2-1 up in Dragons for Avant, 4-3 up in turrets there as well, but almost nothing here. Kensti with a lead, Porky with a lead, but that's evened out on the other side for Absolute.
Well, it's almost nothing, but then you can see the 60-odd CS difference in the mid lane. It is a big factor here into this game. The LeBlanc is going to be able to instantly burst anyone up. The siege that Avant have is actually quite strong. They've got the threat of diving just because they've got the Rumble who can long-range engage on top of an Ash Arrow, someone with wave clear, which, funnily enough, is the Azir and the Kalista exclusively at the moment, have to be in the front lines to do. So if Avant can find themselves in a siege situation, they're either going to get free damage down onto the front line of Jack Attack and Malik, or they're going to be able to have an arrow opportunity in the face of an important target.
And Warble's arrows we've seen been so good, apart from maybe that last one that he threw out. But Avant's still looking for something here. They know they need a pick to try and transition, although might just try it on the Baron. No, not quite yet. A little too reckless, I think.
No, they're still just looking to make a pick themselves. Again, they are both similar comps in terms of pick. It's what's past that pick that's really important is Warble. No.
He thought about it.
Didn't throw it.
No, didn't throw the arrow out. Porky actually bottom side there on the Rumble can probably beat them out kind of 1v1 if that's what it comes to. Jack though, Home Guard boots ready, Spirit Visage completed. Does not tell you though.
That's a lot of magic resistance being stacked here from the side of Absolute. You can see the Locket combined with all Jack Attack has now. Their game plan is basically kill Warble and live through the rest.
Warble's actually behind an items, needs to go spend some gold. Mattress Tries to fly in with the Righteous Glory, but the tower instead goes to Avant as they transition nicely to the mid lane. MoFi breaking out. Again, both teams almost trying to dodge the other team's engages. Avant setting a trap here, potentially.
Now, this is good from the Avant lineup. They've made the rotation. They got the mid turret, and they straight away, they moved around the map towards the bottom to try and find a pick, catching someone going towards Porky. They didn't find anybody, but the concept, again, was exactly what they need to do. Make those picks on the back of vision control that they have and force objectives when Absolute are prepared. They just need to make sure they don't get picked off again, as there's actually 2 wards on the Baron. So Absolute phase checking this would be a big positional error.
It would, and you can see they're don't fancy themselves going through that choke that Avant are very obviously trying to set themselves up for.
There it is.
Shelby does spot a ward there with the sweeper, so gets one. Gonna look to clean the other, but has to get into the blue buff cavity there to make sure it goes out. Does spot it. Oh, ran out. Oh, ulti! Looks for Mattress, doesn't find it. Shelby instead gets hooked.
That was really lucky. Mattress actually turning around to throw out a hook at the same time as the arrow coming through. So a small, unfortunate error there from Avant.
Shelby instead has to body slam out. Midbeast might be the target for Kenzie's assassination, but even with the Void stuff, can't quite find enough. Midbeast fairly strong himself here, and it looks like everyone who did a lot of moving back and forth to try and get some hold onto the Baron area instead has to go back and spend some gold.
Yeah, they all finally find that opportunity to recall, get some items, spend that gold, and you can see the makings of that last Whisper now from Warble, and once he gets that, the damage spikes a lot. Yeah. You can see mostly magic resistance stacking here, though, from the side of Absolute, so not necessarily needing that last Whisper, could have opted potentially towards more of a Bloodthirster build, just to have an overshield and some more raw damage.
Curious to see why Warble didn't want to go for it, but I mean, last Whisper is always going to be good. Maybe he looks at Kulo's build and thinks, hey, that's what I want to be doing, so just a curious thought there as Midbeast. Got his death cap now as well, speaking of big ticket items. So everyone just powering up, but Rusty, we've had such a prolonged stalemate here in this game, it feels like. I mean, Baron's been up, nobody really wants to go for it. We've been sort of fighting for dragons, but both teams really just almost hoping the other one makes a mistake, it feels like.
Well, I mean, hoping or forcing are both possibilities here. You can see the amount of control that both teams are putting. The emphasis on wards, we've seen it since level 1, otherwise we wouldn't have had that pink ward minigame in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the game, is that they are all placing a high emphasis on that vision control. Around the Baron, around the Dragon, around places where they can make a pick. Both teams are doing it to the point where they're just having a ward fight. Whoever finally gets ahead, essentially, in ward vision will be able to make that pick, and the team that can finally break the stalemate and make a pick will be most likely the team that comes out ahead.
It's really great that you point out vision there as well, because you just look down at what the tools that both teams have for vision. It's 3 lenses there for ABS to 2 there for Avant, and double sight stone. So both supports and junglers for both teams have that vision. So if the little pink word minigame wasn't enough to tip their hand, I think just looking down right now and seeing all those trinkets is.
And I mean, to expand further, the Dragon up in 30 seconds. Look at all of the red wards around offensive positions here on the side of Absolute. Avant have placed around the red buff. Every avenue to actually get to the Dragon is completely spotted. They will see someone making their way there. And I mean, it's all around. That's essentially what they're looking to do. Utilize the fact they have the Ashe, which is why it's taking such a prolonged period of time. They haven't really found an opening to hit an arrow, an important target.
No, and when we talk about setting up a vision for objectives, Avant have pretty much got picture-perfect vision around this Dragon right now, although some of it did get swept away by Absolute. So I'm glad you pointed it out earlier. Dragon, though, we'll get started here by Avant. Warble does have his last Whisper now as well, but ABS,
again,
beeline straight for Baron.
I do like this. They're not playing to the team of Avant here, but the Ashe arrow is still going to be able to catch them in this position. They forced the Baron, they look to commit to it.
Kenzie going to have to do something here. I don't think he can get the buff. He's going to have to try and get a kill.
Big.
He dives in, but Kalista able to get the Baron. Empress Divide kicks Destiny out of the team fight, and now Mattress going to dive his way in, but Porky doing decent damage. Malik's gotten low, but it's not quite enough yet. Jack as well, taking up so much as Kenzie dives in to take out Mattress. Gets the double as he gets Kalista there as well, and it's a whitewash here. Kenzie will go down. Destiny's actually fallen as well, so Midbeast going to answer back there as both mid laners go off chops. But Avant can't quite chase the last kill, and it's 3 for 2, but ABS get the Baron.
I mean, they get the Baron, they get a 3 for 2 trade. All in all, it is still basically dead even. Dragon for Baron, 3 for 2 in kills. Both mid laners doing a lot of work, but both eventually going down. how do you even say who's ahead at the moment, besides the fact that Absolute seems to be making these decisions that all in all end up becoming slightly advantageous?
Yeah, I mean, going to push the waves out now. Porky actually will push out the top side there as well. We're going to see a replay of this last fight.
So the best part about this is the Rumble ultimate. They're locked in a horrible position now, but Kensti is as well. He's used his Distort to get into the Baron pit, has to walk all the way around, and while this whole thing has happened, he's only just gotten back. Meanwhile, Kulo was exhausted, and then Kensti finally comes in, has that impact, and just decimates him. Kulo not being able to have an impact, but the rest of the side of Avant and Porky completely left to do damage, finds himself with a comfortable fight.
Yeah, now with ABS, going back and spent their gold, re-empowered there with items. Despite the gold lead being even, Baron buff is certainly not, so we'll see what they can get done now that they've secured the Baron, still on a couple members.
Yes, thankfully the Baron buff is still on members. If they got aced, it would definitely not have been worth. Now is the time, though. If Absolute want to force something, they've got those empowered Baron minions, but they now have the availability to group up and find it. Saying that, they are still respecting the Ashe comp, and I like that because they didn't go for the Dragon, they forced the Baron, knowing that the Ashe would get a free arrow because of vision control. Instead, they control around the Baron, they force the arrow to be put down onto a frontline target just because Warble has to throw it at some stage in a fight, otherwise he's going to be wasting an ultimate, and it's very important. So now they are grouped around bottom. They're looking to maybe siege, but...
Oh, Malik doesn't quite get hit by the Pulverized Destiny. A little short on that one. And the Baron up minions, all that wave through here for Avant. Not so useful against this very strong minions.
Okay, here's the thing though. It's not useful, but if you want to hit this turret, it is going to be Kulo and Midbeast who are going to hit it. It's important that they do not get arrowed.
Kulo though, QSS outs immediately. Malik though could be the next target. Destiny tries to go in, but gets flashed out. Now Chelby actually in trouble. So he gets engaged on. Jack Attack takes him out. Nice bait there from Kulo.
Super smart bait. I didn't see the QSS completed just yet. He manages to stand aggressively, force the arrow, instantly use that QSS. He's got the overshield from the Bloodthirster anyway, so it actually did nothing. And he's now working towards that Blade of the Ruined King as Absolute pick up the turret.
Also, Mikhail's there for Mattress, so clearly keeping that arrow there in mind for Warble. It was a great arrow onto Kulo. Just was ready there with the counter. And Avant now looking to be quite far behind on the back foot. It's only 2,000 gold up, but there's going to be a couple tricky minutes as that Baron buff is still there.
Now I feel like the Avant Garde lineup have almost bottled themselves into the engage of an Ashe Arrow. They need to now reassess their options. They've got the QSS and Mikhail's completed by Kulo and Mattress. They can't rely on that arrow hitting a priority target. It's always going to be cleansed away. So instead, they need to rethink what they're actually doing. Don't just look for picks anymore. Work around that LeBlanc, work around Porky, and utilize your siege potential that you have before the lead starts to go any further in favor.
Oh, Kensti going in. That damage is ridiculous. Kulo going to get chunked up, means Avant might find themselves a turret in the bottom lane.
Yeah, so they are starting to siege now. They're making their way towards the bottom lane, but the Absolute lineup are able to push them back in this case. But that's what they need to do. They need to find these openings to actually utilize another strength of their comp. They cannot rely on that arrow anymore. No,
they can't. As Chelby actually taking away the red buff, I think, or maybe the Krugs right now. With Dragon back in a minute 40 means Avant can't keep pressuring that bottom side of the map. And ABS, Malik, massive right now with an Elixir of Iron. Midbeast has 4 damage items right now on this Azir as well.
Haunting, guys.
Yeah, very cost efficient.
He's gone flat Magic Pen build at the moment, so no doubt his next item should be something that is just raw damage. If you go for the Haunting, guys, you're not going for a Void Staff next, or you're looking to just straight up take out all of the magic resistance of the enemy team, which isn't really an abundant amount.
There's not quite enough of it, I don't think. Here is Warble also going for a Blade of the Ruined King. Kensti powered up 4 items to himself now, as well adding a Death Cap into that mix. And even Captain Shelby there with his boots, very tanky, kind of ready to go in or out as his team desires.
Yeah, they're all starting to ramp up with their items pretty big here. 3 big items for the Kalista, and again, 4 for Kensti. That is the big factor right now. The Ashe arrows are negligible, so it's all going to come down to raw auto attack from Warble. And now that you have Kensti to actually back you up with that Void Stuff, it's going to be really gross if he can get onto anyone.
I think crucially as well, we looked at Destiny's item builds. I was wondering why I wasn't trying to smack away minions there and get the procs off with the shield. He's actually swapped over to Coin, but he hasn't completed the Talisman yet, which is maybe another way Avant can initiate a fight.
Yeah, swapping that out, giving him an engage tool, another go button that they do definitely need. So Avant starting to assess their options and smartly changing out.
Well, Mattress going to look for something. Wards go down. Kensti does back in. Mattress takes a big chunk there from Kensti. Level 3 ultimate with the blue buff. pretty much got free poke whenever someone gets too close.
Mattress not respecting the damage of Kenzie right there, and Kenzie letting him know why he should respect it. Does take out half his health with only the QR combo.
Dragon is back up as well. Baron following in about a minute. So Avant, if they want the Dragon, sort of have to pull the trigger quite quickly. ABS might respond by just shoving up the mid lane. They will get the Dragon, but push is on now for Absolute.
This happens every single time that Avant look to go for that Dragon. Absolute seem to have an answer in their head, and right now they're getting the turret.
Yeah, Kenzie can't do anything right now. Wave could be a little too dangerous. Takes a massive amount of damage from Azir as well. And him's already dead. Destiny's in the front line. He's popped his ulti. The equalizer's good. Massive pulverize there as well. But they're fighting under a stun turret. Kenzie looking for key targets, but can't quite get anything done yet. Kulo just going off there as Warble's kiting back, trying to kill Jack. But that's just too much here. That's 3 kills now for Absolute. And they're going to keep going.
Avant have actually just been completely out-rotated right now. Absolute might even be able to end this game. Kenzie has the damage to stop it. But the decision-making now, the shot calling from Absolute has completely wrecked Avant.
Well, the carries are alive, but I don't know if it's enough here. Malik, so tanky. Kenzie diving in. He needs something here, but he goes down instead. Warble now going to get aggressed on mid-piece, eats him. The ace gets completed, an absolute upset Avant.
And this is what we were worried about at the start of the game. Absolute have that potential to turn on the game. They go massive that game, and entirely on decision-based. Avant getting greedy for those Dragons every single time finds Absolute firstly with a Baron, secondly with then the inhibitor, and then they just win one team fight, and because the positioning is in their favor, it's defensive for Avant, they just close out the game.
Yeah, it was not a balanced team fight either, by any means. Just got picks there. Maokai did so much work against Kenzie there as well.
Yeah, you could see the magic resistance being sacked early here from the side of Absolute. All he has to do is sit there with his ultimate on and just get in the face of Kenzie, deny all of that damage, and Kulo completely unlocked in that last fight, left to his own devices to free hit, only using that Fate's Call to actually combo some extra CC, and the Absolute lineup just, again, they turn it on. And against what was Avant, a team on the rise looking super strong before this game as well, there's a few questions about their play.
Quite a few questions, to be honest. So Absolute, I just felt very comfortable. That was the thing to me that really struck me, is that they just never felt like anything was going to go bad.
It didn't feel like there was ever a moment where Avant were entirely in control, and the decision-making on buying the QSS as well, basically removing the strategy that Avant had put in place, making them rethink everything they were planning. And while they were trying to change the strategy up, just rampaging through the game.
Yeah, great stuff there. Actually, Absolute get the upset there, find it over Avant. And to give us a little more on the situation, we'll throw out to the war room with Atlas and Spawn.
Thank you very much, Pastry Time. And it's exactly how he said it. Of course, Absolute upsetting Avant here, who we actually stated as one of the sort of teams that have really found their footing here in the OPL. But it just wasn't the Kenzie show that we were expecting coming in here, Spawn.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't. And, you know, they definitely had some win conditions that they were trying to play towards. But just credit to the whole of the Absolute team for being able to shut down a lot of that early pressure and get to the late game where they would be more successful.
Yeah, they most certainly shone. And let's have a look, though, because Avant really started strong. And we're talking about Porky here. This is definitely a fantastic and solid top laner. He always tends to perform, especially on the likes of Rumble. And it was no different here, especially in the first few minutes, but it all seemed to fall apart. But let's have a look at it. Let's bring the replay up and just show exactly what Porky's capable of.
Yeah, so we see level 6 is hit, and this is what we mentioned. They have a very good level 6 composition. They've got the LeBlanc who can delete someone, the Equalizer, as well as the Ash Arrow. So when we roll this one out, you'll see Destiny starts it up nicely, gets behind the AD carry, punts Kulo away from the team. Smart arrow here from Warble. Actually predicted him to be able to take the Latin, but Mattress was, Destiny was already body blocking that one, and Porky comes in, nails the Equalizer, able to pick up 2 kills, and smartly abandons Malik there, runs back, starts peeling for Warble, and he's just nailing Harpoon after Harpoon. It's a little thing in this team fight that he's able to do incredibly well, overheats at the right time, manages that, dodges out of the Emperor Divide here with a cute little sidestep that comes through. So he's just able to stay on the back of everyone, continues the turret dive through there. That's actually a double kill on the second double kill that's about to come through right now. And Porky, he went back to lane, 100% kill participation, 4-1-1. And this should have been the beginning of the end. They had the ability from that point to set up the ward line, make sure that on the other side of the rip, Absolute were face checking and just pick up picks, but it didn't go that way.
Yeah, it just wasn't really what Avant really wanted it to turn into. And of course, that was Porky going back, picking up a needlessly large rod. And somehow, Jack Attack weathered the storm. There were no solo kills in that lane, nothing like that. And he just stayed back, stayed even in farm, and allowed stuff to go on. And let's just discuss exactly how that happened. Let's bring up the team comps here, and we can go through exactly how Absolute managed to weather this storm, because I have to feel that it's largely off the back of Mattress. He was landing hooks left, right, and center.
Yeah, so first things first, their vision control good and Mattress played well, but beyond that, they had a really cute composition because they had Nunu along with Azir and Kalista, and we always talk about the attack speed, late game presence that they bring, but they also had a super tank in Jack Attack who helped the rest of the team survive magic damage, because there's 4 magic damage users on a Lights lineup. Yeah. It's only really Warble that they're getting any AD out of, and Mid Beast itemized fantastically. Went for that heavy itemization towards Emma, picked up the Abyssal, picked up the Athenes, even went some HP sneakily through the penetration item in the Leandri's Torment, and it just meant that Kensti wasn't able to get his job done.
Yeah, and of course, that was in his first 2 items before he completed the boots as well. So Midbeast making sure that he couldn't be taken out of the fight, and as soon as he can't be deleted, then Kensti's basically useless because he wants to be auto-attacking with those Sand Soldiers over and over again, and he's able to from the backline relatively safely with all the peel.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, you saw Avant starting to get desperate. They were trying to create picks. They were missing arrows. They couldn't control vision, and it led to this, the last team fight that we're about to show you, and it was really just a comp outscaling the opposition. So as you kick this one off, notice the Sun Turret in the back and the items we're talking about. Dragon falls down, but they make the right decision. They're going for the base, putting all this pressure on Avant, chunking Kensti out with the late game. And there was just nothing AV could do. They can't get onto the backline. They nail a great equalizer, but there's a Sun Turret. There's all this peel, the ability to disengage, re-engage coming through for Absolute. And it was over before the fight even began, just because of the hole Avant had dug themselves into.
Yeah, it's the point. But one thing I really want to note here is the fact that Absolute, coming through from the OCS, this is a team that we probably would have put in that category of not necessarily knowing how to close out a game. A lot of these teams struggle when it comes to making these sort of moves in the late game that really solidify a victory. But there was none of that this time around. They took that inhibitor. There was one-track mindedness. This team was definitely performing as a unit, and it's fantastic to see from a new team in the OPL.
Yeah, it certainly did. And, you know, one of our criticism of them was the fact that they were able to get leads that then kind of petered off. This time they did the opposite. They stuck with it. They fought through vision control, able to get their late-game team fighting going. And as you mentioned, for a new team onto the scene, you think this may be a turning point that Absolute looked back to.
Well, of course, picking up their second victory now, but let's throw it back